Welcome to episode 6 of Who's the A-Hole, featuring your host, myself, Rob Very, and of course...
Helen.
Hey, Helen, how are you doing today?
Good, how are you doing?
Not too bad, you know, just been recovering from last episode. It's, that was sure something, and, let's see how we do today. See, if we have another pile of jerks, or if we have some people just going through some stuff. So
well, I guess we'll find out, okay?
I guess we will. All right. Well, if you want to go ahead with the first one, let's go.
Am I the asshole? My grandmother, in her 80s, gave me, 17-year-old male, $5,000, and I didn't tell my parents. Now they're mad. Okay. My grandma handed me a check for $5,000 the other day, and I didn't tell my parents. My grandma told me not to because they get jealous and prevent me from spending any of it. I agreed with her. A lot of the times when someone gives me money, my parents get furious and try to make me give the money back, or they take it away from me and won't give it back for weeks. Frankly, I don't think my parents even like the idea of me having any money at all. When my dad found out about the money, he said I was greedy and selfish. When my mom found out, she said, we need to talk. Am I the asshole for not telling my parents about the check?
I think you could read that edit that's there.
All right, I wasn't sure. Okay, Bob, I guess I'll read the edit. Edit. My grandma is completely sound of mind. She doesn't have any mental disabilities or anything like that, and she's doing pretty well financially in both Jamaica and Canada.
Okay. Is this child an asshole for not telling the parents that grandma gave them $5,000? I don't think they're... Listen, when I was 17 and I got money for my birthday or something, I never got $5,000. I'd get like 50 or 100 or something, but my parents, one, didn't really care. But even if they did,
never asked me about
why would I tell them?
Yeah. I don't think they're the asshole either. I think what's really interesting is how controlling the parents are about said money. Like I said, growing up in a very Chinese and Vietnamese predominant family, when it's Lunar New Year, it's custom for all the adults and the elder to give children red envelopes, which is full of money.
Mm-hmm.
And the red envelopes can amount to God knows how much money, right? It could be like a couple dollars, 10, 20, 50, 100, a couple hundred bills to a grand. I don't know. It's whoever wants to be very generous during that time. It's to their discretion. And usually when the kids are collecting said red envelopes, they never really disclose how much they get to the parents. My parents never, asked for that. That was rightfully my money. If anything, my parents would just be like, oh, just, put that away, save it for later. Don't spend it all in one. They would hope I wouldn't spend it all in one sitting kind of ordeal. Right. So, I just think it's so weird that the parents would be so why would you say they're greedy and selfish for taking money from their grandma when she's of sound of mind, she's financially stable and is able to take care of herself, and she just wants to, maybe spoil her grandchild. I mean, I feel like that's normal for a grandparent to want to give some money to their grandchild, right? Am I crazy? Or
no, you're not. You're not crazy. You're not crazy at all.
I'm just so baffled that
here's the vibes I get. Okay. The vibes I get from these parents are they are the parents who will look at their child and say, we made you, and then make them give them stuff. I think that's the kind of parents we're dealing with here, because they think, this is why I think this, it seems to me they think they have a right to anything the child has.
Oh, I hate when parents are like that, though.
Yeah, that's what it seems like. I hate that. I hate hearing about that. I hate seeing that. For me, when I would get especially if I got a pile of money from some other relative that wasn't my parents, a lot of times I would take one or both of my parents out for food or something.
Okay, yeah.
I really enjoyed doing that. In fact, I still remember one of the last pictures I have from when I last visited or from one of the times I visited my folks, I took my mom out to a restaurant and we took a picture in front of the restaurant because we were just
Oh, that's cute.
yeah, we were just
That's
happy
cute.
to go out, you know. And I've done that,
That's-
gone on trips with my dad before where I would like pay for our lunch, you know. It's like, oh no,
Yeah.
you're driving, don't worry about it, I got it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't even think about that. But if my parents were the type of people that always wanted the money, I probably would never do that. But to even, oh god, to even insinuate or think that that could ever be something about them is crazy. Because a little thing about me growing up, I never knew that we were poor. I had no idea. We actually, the kids, we usually had like one of the latest video game systems. We had nice shoes, our clothes, we got new clothes. You know, we weren't hungry. I mean, I was overweight. Like, you know, I had no idea. And in my early 20s, when I realized like the state of things in general, I looked at my parents and I was like, did we grow up poor? And they said, oh yes, very poor. And I was like, but how did we? And my parents were literally like, there were times when we would barely eat or we would barely have our own stuff so that you guys did and didn't know. And I was like, you're assholes, but you're very nice and amazing assholes.
Yeah.
But God damn it.
Sometimes, you know, that's great parenting. I feel like, you know, where they do their best to, you know, especially make a child feel like they're in a very good environment growing up, that they don't realize such things like that, right?
Yeah, and this 17-year-old kid, he has to, oh god, and when you think about it this way, he has to hide money from his parents.
Yeah, and you know what's really shitty is that's probably gonna like carry out throughout his life into adulthood,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
That's
yeah, man, it's so the fact that we went right from him getting it and keeping it a secret to when they found out, I immediately, like, my heart dropped because I was like, where's the paragraph about how they found out? That sucks, man.
yeah.
So that means there's no hiding. There's no hiding anything.
It's true, because they ended up finding out. I get the feeling they're very controlling. Like, even if you were to try to hide something, they would really, whatever, I don't know what means, they would just end up finding out. Right?
Yeah.
Like, it's
Yeah, I was also just going through, so there's some comments asking about the grandma. That's probably why he put the edit in there. He also
I see. Okay.
he answered a question that he does have his own bank account that his parents can't access.
Okay.
So that's a step. So it sounds to me like they're just going to be mad at him, and
I don't do drugs and I don't own weapons. Yeah, very hard in Canada, I would say.
Yeah.
I just think they're controlling.
Man, I'm looking at some of these. There's one person calling the kid an asshole because they literally do not believe that the grandma is cognitively fine.
The money? I mean, yes, five grand is a lot of money.
Yeah, it is, but like at the same
That is a lot of money.
time,
But also, it's like it's coming from a grandmother to hit their own grandchild, which I don't think is too crazy either.
yeah, I know there was another big post, somebody saying like when relatives would slip them money and say don't tell your parents, they would tell their parents, and the parents would be like, okay, that's kind of crazy, and they would give the money back. That kind of just like hurts me because I already know, like, so my brother has kids, and like when they grow up, there's a non-zero chance that, like, you know, maybe they're going to college or something and I go visit and I'll be like, you know, I give them a bit of money, a bit of spending money so they can have some fun in college. And I'll probably say, hey, don't tell your dad. Here you go. I'm expecting them to go enjoy themselves with the damn money because I'm not giving people money when I don't have money.
You're right.
Like, if my brother came back and he's like, here's the money back, I'll be like, what the hell are you doing? And I'd probably fight him. So, like, that's Mm. But I see people's perspectives on it. Wondering, like an 85-year-old woman just gave their 17-year-old grandchild like a pretty significant. Like I don't. Only very recently have I in one lump sum gotten that much money. That's a lot of money to me.
That, well, it is a lot of money, but if she really wants to give her grandchild that much money, that's in her right, right?
Oh yeah.
And like, it's another thing for him. Like, he's a kid; he can do whatever he wants with that money. If he wants to blow it, then he can blow it. The money, that's why it's called a gift. It's been given to the person. They have every right to do whatever the fuck they want with the gift once it's in their hands.
Yes.
In their possession.
Yes.
So there's this comment here. Oh god, I need to look for it. And I was just like, oh, right here. When they say they're referring to OP. He's an otherwise active commenter who is refusing to answer any of the folks asking that exact question. Because people have been repetitively in the comments asking about his grandmother's well-being, if she is sound of mind, to be able to be in this position to give him said money. If Granny is of unsound mind, it makes perfect sense the parents want to give it back. He also listed out how he plans to immediately spend every penny of it on hobby stuff. So it's kind of understandable maybe they don't want him to have money if he blows it all when he's soon to be 18 with a ton of upcoming expenses most likely. The fact he's refusing to answer and the fact the parents' reactions make sense if Granny is a bit off. Makes me think it's the case here and that he's likely a pretty big asshole for taking her money knowing that. Especially when she was the one who let it slip to the parents about the money after telling him to keep it a secret.
Wait, what? Where is that information? Did he give that?
Yeah. That's the thing. I don't know if that comment right there, I don't know. I don't know about that.
I need to re-review some of these comments because he did reply to several people asking
he
info.
Did. If you go through the thread, there are a lot of him, the OP, replying back to people. And a lot of the cases, he says things like, yes, my grandma is completely sound of mind. She's pretty smart for her age and has no mental issues. She's doing pretty well financially in both Canada and Jamaica. Hell, she owns a mansion in Jamaica. And he does repetitively reply back to a lot of people because a lot of people were asking him, well, we need to know is how, what state is your grandma in? And I understand where other people are coming from because yes, if she was like, not in the greatest state of mind and he took the money, then I'd be like, okay, dude.
Yeah. Did you see he replied to the comment you just read?
Oh, did he really?
Yeah, the comment you just read. He goes,
let me open it up.
Yeah, he goes, bro, I literally woke up like an hour ago. Please relax. My granny is completely sound of mind. And no, I never said I was going to spend all of it. Just some of it, because I've been planning to buy those for quite some time.
And like I said, it's his money! He can do whatever the fuck he wants with it, dude!
I love, for some reason, because I used to work with kids, and I knew many teenagers, when I hear them be like, bro, relax, to an adult, that makes me laugh so much.
Yeah, but it's true, though. Sometimes it's like, yo, just take a chill pill.
There's a thing that I like to do where when people are even starting to seem slightly agitated or excited about something, I always make a joke about calm down, or I feel like you're not very calm right now. And it's literally because of a lot of these kids that I previously worked with and stuff. They would see an adult fly off the handle about something very inane, and they would just be so, they don't care that they're being screamed at, and then their first response was, calm down, bro. and I know they do it because the adult then gets even angrier and is like popping. And I love that.
When you tell someone to calm down, it's like the worst thing you could say to somebody, but it's also kind of funny depending on the context. And in this context, it's fucking funny.
It is absolutely hilarious. I'm seeing some people talking about how they have their kids have savings accounts that they're in control of, and they expect them to do things. Like, there's a lot of parents out there now, thankfully, that are teaching their kids about financial responsibility and stuff like that. And I guess so. I feel like this post doesn't have as much substance as we usually have. So I have a kind of side question. How how do you feel when parents are giving their kids an allowance, either for doing chores or just for being good? How do you feel about that?
I don't think there's anything wrong about that. I mean, if the parents have like financial means too, I think in a it like kind of like reinforces like reward, you know, like good behavior, good reward kind of thing. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Mm-hmm. No,
And
I
like,
agree. I think it's fine.
and the reason, like, I know some people might not agree with that, right?
Mm-hmm.
But everyone has different ways of doing things. Just because you don't like it doesn't mean someone else doesn't like it, and doesn't mean it doesn't work for them, right? But if someone feels within their means, like, yeah, you know, if you're gonna get all A's, I will give you $100 for every A you get on your report card. And I've heard of these.
Dear Lord.
Up. I've heard of these, and you know what? Maybe it works. It works. I've seen literally kids get there's like, I remember there was this kid in my class, and he was so like impatient when it came to report cards like being handed out. He was like, I want my report card right now. And the teacher was just like, no. We're not going to change it. I'm not going to give it to you first. Alphabetical, like we've always done. And he's just sitting there like super, super anxious. And I remember because he was like, this particular classroom, she had set us up by sitting in groups of 4s. And I had sat like right across from him. So I was like, are you okay? Like, why is it you really want your report card? Is it because like you're scared you did something really bad? Like, did you get a bad mark or something? And he's like, no. My dad will literally give me $100 for every A that I get.
God.
And like, for me, like, I was so shocked because I believe this is like around grade 3. And for me, obviously, like, my parents never did that. They weren't like, oh, we're gonna pay you for every good grade you get. Oh, we're gonna pay you for doing chores. You know, like, my parents always had different ways of like, I guess not rewards, but like, obviously, like complimenting and praising us for when we would take on like responsibilities like that around the house.
Right.
So that made me feel good. And so obviously it made me feel good because my parents were like, oh, thank you so much for like helping out the family. Right. So like a lot of that was just like, oh, like contributing to the family, doing your part and stuff like that. So for me, this was like a really like eye-opening thing because, you know, that's when I was like, you guys get paid for getting A's? Like, really?
Yeah.
My parents' ways of getting me to get A's is like, if I don't get the A, I'm gonna get my ass beat.
Oh yeah, well,
you know, Asian.
Well, there's negative reinforcement, you know positive reinforcement. Yeah.
You know, and so like I'm literally like watching him. He finally gets his report, and he's just like he rips it open, and he's literally counting. He's like, "That's another 100. That's another 100. That's another 100. That's
so much money."
And I'm just like, wow.
Yeah, there was a point in my life where my one of my grandmas gave us $10 an A, and then it was in, I think 5th grade was when it started, and that was when I still had a bunch of classes where you can get grades. And then 6th grade was the start of middle school, and we had less classes. So I was like, oh, damn, I'm getting scammed because we have semesters. And then when we got into high school, the way that it worked in my high school is each semester we only had 4 classes. And
yes,
so
that's right. We had that too.
And so I was like,
4 to 5. Yeah.
When at that point, you know, she was still doing the $10 an A, and you know, I handed to her, I was just like, just so you know, we only have 4 classes at a time now. And she's like, oh good, that saves me money.
That's cute. That's
I was like, God damn it. And then
cute.
When we got to high school, it was basically, if you get, for her, it was anything B or higher. If your whole report card was that, she just gave us $100. So it stopped being per grade at that point. But like, I still, like, there are a lot of people who have a lot of issues with just giving kids money, and I don't think they should, because I'll tell you, and I don't know if you have a similar experience from Canada, they don't teach you things about finances very well, if at all.
Yeah, that is
in K to
very
12.
true. Like for me, I don't think I like the only like time I got money was always around Lunar New Year.
Mm-hmm.
And I do remember saving a lot of that money. But that's because like my parents, you end up getting a lot of money during that time. My parents would be like, that's a lot of money. It's better to like save it, and like maybe like later on there's something you really really want and you can like buy it with your money. And so I was like, okay, so I just put it away. And the funny thing is, when I would put it away, I put it away safely, but because I wouldn't see it, I would forget about it. But it would be safely tucked away, right?
Yeah.
But aside from that, like I would never really ask my parents for things, especially when it came to like grades or like just like not just like doing well in school, but like doing chores and stuff. But like I remember when the Game Boy Color came out and they released what was it? Pokemon Gold and Silver.
Okay.
That was like the first time I ever had asked my parents, like, I really want this game. And I told them, I was like, I've been doing really, really well in school and I've been doing chores around the house. I've never asked you guys for anything. Like, I really, really want this.
You realize
right?
that was your first proposal.
Yeah.
Like, listen,
exactly.
Here's the data. Here is my request.
Grade. Yes. I was really, really young. My parents were obviously very hesitant because to them, like they're like, oh, but if she gets this Game Boy Color, what if she just stops studying? Right? What if I get too
God
addicted to playing the game? So they were really like apprehensive of getting me a Game Boy Color.
Mm-hmm.
With that being said, growing up, like I wasn't allowed to watch like Simpsons or any of those kind of shows. Like my parents
I've heard that plenty of times. I grew up on The Simpsons, so
been very like they obviously like sheltered us growing up, but they wanted us to have a quote unquote proper childhood.
Right.
So,
So it was like a little bit, and then so did they get you it?
I did. They did. They ended up getting me the Game Boy Color and Game Boy. I mean, the Pokemon. I got Pokemon Gold. I picked Gold. And so because my parents were so concerned, it actually made me want to prove to them I can balance studying for school and playing games. And
how's that going lately, Helen?
Well, I'm not in school anymore. All I do is play games.
I was just thinking, I was like, did your parents have a valid concern? They didn't know it wasn't going to be a concern for 15 years. But
growing up, I only played Pokemon, and as soon as I hit like high school to university, I played no games at all. I was strictly just studying. I only I think towards the end of my university career, I picked up Pokemon again because it'd been like a number of years since I actually played any of the Pokemon games.
Right.
And so that was probably like my first game in like a long time. And yeah, I wasn't really like playing a lot of games during university.
I mean, but there's also the significant chance that you knew that had you really wanted to and done it, perhaps gaming might have taken up more time than you would have realized. I know I had that problem, so I wouldn't play games.
I had no interest. I don't know. I would say I was pretty good at like time management, especially when it came to studying. I knew how that important that was and stuff. Like evidently, because my parents were so shocked at how well I had balanced school and playing games. Because to me, I was like, well, if I finish all my homework and I do really, really well, then I have more time to play Pokemon. That's how my thought process worked.
Yeah, no.
And so
I think that's great. I think rewarding completing responsibilities with hobby type actions. I think that's cool, especially when you're in school. For school, that's absolutely fantastic. It actually kind of feels bad when you're working and you're like, okay, if I do my shift today, then I will play games. It's like, but you're supposed to do that. Like this.
It's true. It's different.
But for school, it's like, with school, you have a little bit of ability to blow things off or procrastinate on things and still be fine. But by not doing that and then rewarding it, knowing like, if I do this, I'm not going to feel guilty while I'm playing. That is the good stuff. That is good stuff.
Obviously, that doesn't work out for everyone because I did have my cousins, and my aunt and uncle would always get them like the latest consoles and stuff like that. I remember there was one point where my aunt and uncle had to hide said consoles because all they did
Ouch.
was game and did no homework and studying.
Yeah, it listen,
You
it
know,
could happen to the best of us too.
it's dependent on the individual. It doesn't work out for everyone, but you know, there's nothing like you said, there's nothing wrong with rewarding good behavior. I think that's a-okay in my books.
Yep.
And
And I did that too. Like when I worked with kids, there were certain, like I knew that they had homework, and I wouldn't mind being, because part most of my job I had to deal with improving their behavior, but if I also helped them with their homework and like connected with the kid, like that was fine too. I would never do it for them. In fact,
Right.
I would refuse to, and in some cases, I wouldn't even tell them if it was right, because I'd be happy that they tried their best and completed it. But it would always be like, especially when I worked with any of the kids that were in middle school and later, and I would pick them up after school to do stuff. The first thing we would do is either go to a library or go to their house. And I would say, okay, you need to sit here and do your homework. You know, if you have trouble focusing on it, that's what I'm here for, to help you. And as soon as you get it done, we'll do this super fun thing that you like, low key, because I like it too. So we'll go do that. I know there was one kid that I worked with for a while, and he had gotten into skateboarding, but his parents either never really had the time or never really liked taking him up to this one park that had a little skate ramp on it, and I was the only one who would do that for him. And I would do it. I would only do it if he completed, because I would be with him during the school day some of the times too. And I'd be like, okay, show me your list. Cause he was like, part of his thing with his teachers was to write what he had to do for like the next day or for the week or whatever.
Okay.
And I'd be like, once we get through this and you complete it, and yes, you can take breaks. You don't have to like just sit there and plow through it. But as soon as we do, if we still have enough time in the day, I'll take you over to the skate ramp, and you know, you can practice. And it kept him so motivated, and he really enjoyed it. But then again, this was a kid where I was like, okay, we're driving for the first time to one of the things we're going to do, and I said, tell me, and there are no consequences for this. I will not tell anybody, and you will not be in trouble. I would like to hear every curse word that you know. And he was like, what? He's like in 6th grade. He's like, what do you mean? I was like, just tell me all the curse words that you know. I'm very curious which ones you know. And he was like, okay. And he like just started saying like ass. and eventually he said all the ones that most people know, and eventually he said fuck. And he was so nervous, and I was like, okay, all right. Now that I know that those are curse words, if I hear you say them, you will be in trouble. And he was like, oh, come on. I was like, listen, you know that in the situations when they're inappropriate, that it's bad. If it's just me and you, my friend, I do not care what you say. But if there's other people around, or people don't want that, like, that's what I'm trying to teach you. And he was like, okay, you got me. I guess that's fair. And I was cool about it. And when he would go to say it in situations when he shouldn't, he would get reprimanded for it or get in trouble. And he's like, oh, okay. And he did, and he learned. Because that's what I do. Like, I don't give one single shit about cursing or any of that. In fact, I think you should teach your kids all of them. But you have to teach them the situations where it's okay, and the situations where people won't want to heir that. And I agree with that. You just adapt. And so that was a nice little bonding thing that we had. And I would tell the other people that I worked with, and they're like, huh, that's pretty clever. And they would all start doing that with their older kids to like let them know, like, okay, now I know what you know is bad. It's so good. So parents out there, try that. It'll be really funny, because sometimes they'll say words that you don't even know what they mean. And those are the best.
I remember where I learned the word fuck from.
Oh,
it came out of my dad's mouth. When he was driving.
That is perfectly fair. You know,
I was sitting in the back seat. You know, in my, you know, the what is it, the child seat.
Okay.
I was fairly young, and I remember the first time hearing him say that. And then I remember he had taken me home, and then I don't know what happened, but you know when you kind of like just say words that you hear your parents say. So I said it out loud, and my mom was like, "Where did you learn that from? How do you know that word?" And I just pointed at my dad. I was like, "He said it in the car when we were driving."
Okay, so that's really funny because a little fun fact about me
I didn't know what it meant. Oh, jeez.
is in my baby book where they write all your firsts. My first word that I ever said in life was shit.
No way.
That is
really?
my first word, and it was because when I was, learning words, I guess, and that age, like we lived in an apartment in New Jersey until I was like 5, and my mom usually stayed at home and my dad would go to work. But my dad was always late, and he would be running around in the apartment while I was like sitting there eating or doing whatever kids do when they're little, going shit, shit, and he would like, where's my keys, shit, and he would say shit all like the whole morning. And so eventually one morning I spoke and I said shit. My mom just started laughing and she told my dad, and he was like, oh man. But it was just always just
funny.
this
That's
joke
funny.
that was because I was their first kid as well.
Right.
And so it's like that point on, my parents always curse around us. For whatever reason, us as kids, we actually didn't like to curse around them until we got to what we thought was old enough.
I agree with that. Yeah.
But anyway, I think we've gotten off the path here, but I did enjoy that conversation. Kid, in my opinion, in this, not the asshole.
Not the asshole.
And let's move on to the next one. Here we go.
All right, here we go.
This one is a little bit thicker, but also money related. Let me take a drink.
Oh.
So it says, am I the asshole for not wanting to give part of my paycheck back to my company? And my initial reaction to this is like, of course you're not the asshole. Fuck companies. But let's have a read. And this is so stupid. Hi everyone, first time poster, long time lurker. I just want to know if how I'm feeling is justified or if I'm just being a selfish jerk. I recently started working for a large nonprofit that specializes in giving money back to the community in our region. Recently, they sent us an email stating that in addition to the work we put out into the company, they would also like for us to make a financial contribution for the end of the year. Blech. They stated we could make a, quote, one-time contribution for the year, or we could sign up to have part of our paycheck taken out through the next fiscal year to go to our funds. In the email, they said they want to have 100% financial support from the staff, quote, as they have in the past, and if they receive 100% participation, they'll let us leave early on a Friday afternoon in January. I just started this year, so I'm unaware of the validity of this statement. Currently, I am just about making ends meet with my paycheck alongside of having large medical and car bills I am in the process of paying off, and it pisses me off a little that they're asking me, the employees, to give part of our pay that we're earning back to them. They by no means are in financial straits as they are a multi-million, if not billion-dollar charity. However, I would hate to be the one person to not contribute to that would keep people from getting the extra time off. And I know the money will be going to good causes. Am I the asshole for not wanting to pay my company back for my own work? And then there's a little edit of clarification here. Because I've seen a little confusion, I wanted to clarify it isn't a link where we can choose whether or not we would like to contribute. They publicly publish everyone who has given, both inside and outside of the company, so it's public knowledge if you have or haven't given.
Why the fuck would you do that?
This entire thing makes me physically ill. Okay, I want to say this company sucks, but then I'm like kind of hesitant because they're a non-profit.
But still,
but
you're asking your own employees. You're not even aware of like each person's like financial situation. How can you have the audacity to ask them to do that? And then like not only that, but you publicly publish it? Why? I don't like that.
No. It makes me very uncomfortable. And I think that 100% is just pressure as a tactic. I don't think they've ever had 100% because I know for the most part when things like this happen, they'll say 100% as long as it's at least like 90. They'll say 100. because it's relatively negligible. But just the fact that they're asking just makes me so annoyed. Like I am so like they're paying you to work. Why
Mm-hmm.
why would you like send it back? But at the same time, like, okay, since it's like a nonprofit that you're working for, like for me, if I was working for a nonprofit, I would probably be working for one that like I agreed with what they're helping with. And I would likely be personally motivated to just contribute to it here and there, even if they're paying me by myself, independently. But the second that they ask me to, I'm puking and crying on the ground. I'm done. I don't want any part of it. I don't want to give them anything. I don't want to do anything. I'll just like if they're a charity that like helps homeless people have meals, I'll go to a soup kitchen. I'll volunteer myself. Screw them. Like I don't know. Maybe that's a me thing.
No, I get it. I totally I get it. I agree. It's just it's just
It's gross, and all the comments the comments are almost all saying they're not the hassle
similar.
and do malicious compliance. Give $1.
One of my favorites is like a penny.
Give 1 penny. Oh,
Penny.
oh, that's so. Malicious compliance is probably my favorite phrase. I feel like because you're doing the thing just as little as you possibly can, or as technically correct as you possibly can. That is actually my favorite kind of correct, is technically correct. But it drives me crazy, especially in. So this post is from a couple months ago, so it's still pretty recent. In this current like anti-work mentality that people are in, and how things have been going with the pandemic and the economy, especially in the United States, but probably everywhere. It's ridiculous to me to try to push employees regarding their finances, and then on top of it, to publish it.
I don't get that. It's different. Like, you know how like when you go to like grocery stores, well, I don't know if they do this in America, but in Canada, at some grocery stores, especially during the holidays, they'll ask like, "Oh, would you like to donate
Yeah, they do that
to
here.
the X charity?" And then you donate an amount, and then they ask you, "Would you like to write your name on this little sticker thing?" Yeah, right. And so there's nothing wrong with that, because you're asking them if they want to be like put up there to be known, like, "Oh yes, I did donate." But that's different. Like at least like in that situation, you're asking if they're with their permission.
Right, and because and the other
right?
difference is just because you don't see someone's name up there doesn't mean they didn't contribute.
Exactly.
In
Which
this
is okay,
situation,
and I like that.
in this situation, if your name's not on there, it's because you didn't contribute, so it can be known, and that makes me vomit.
And I don't. That's why I don't like it. It's not okay.
It's like
I'm reading the comments here, and someone said, "I worked for a large nonprofit for 10 years in HR. They are lying. They never had 100% participation. Impossible. Don't do it."
yeah. Oh, I like this one. Hey, do you want to financially contribute to the operating costs of this business without getting shares? Because that's what they're asking, and like, and they remind you're not a volunteer for the charity. You work for them. You're an employee.
Yeah.
And people are like, you should start looking around. You should look around probably and find a better place. And that's, I agree in a situation, but I think this is always interesting. Just like with the relationship ones, it's always you should leave them. You should get a divorce. With job ones, it's almost always you need to start looking for another job. If they do this, what are they going to do with this? If they do that, they're going to do that.
I don't think OP is in the position to just like leave this job.
No, it doesn't sound like it.
Yeah, right.
I think I'm okay with him looking, but
yeah, like if he feels comfortable, oh yeah, it's time to start looking, but still be here until he finds something better, then yeah. Right now, it's like he can't just like up and drop it. Like, obviously, he has,
yeah, he said he's making ends meet, medical bills, car bills,
large medical and car bills. So yeah,
it's oh, it's always wild. It's always wild, and I like to remind people, and I think couple years ago, I really was reminding people when I would say this, but now I think a lot of people know. Uh, you are, in most cases, not a person in the eyes of your company. You are.
Oh, yeah, I had to learn that the hard way.
You are just a number or a part of their bottom line.
Yep.
That's it. Loyalty, forget about it.
It's true.
There's no reason to have the traditional sense of loyalty just because they hired you. Now, there are situations, especially with a lot of startups nowadays, which is more and more and more popular, even though they're always risky. I do understand loyalty there, because if you join a startup, especially if you're one of the people that are helping it to start up, you're passionate about what's happening and you want to see it succeed, and you agree with the people or are friends with them or whatever it may be. And I don't have any problem there having loyalty to them. I can see situations where they get offered higher paid salary for another job, but they decide to stay at this one because they want to be loyal. I totally get that. But in terms of like the benefits and all the reasons that people used to be loyal and how it was like, and still is to an extent, frowned upon to like job hop, even the fact that it's called job hopping sounds derogatory to me, is kind of still blows my mind, because your company expects you to give all this stuff for the company, but the second you ask for something in return, they're like, oh, nope, you got to do what we say, but we don't got to do what you say. And I hate that. And that's what this reminds me of. It makes me sick. Maybe I'm overreacting, but this kind of stuff makes me, especially from a non-profit.
So weird.
Like, to me, and if they're $1 million or $1 billion charity, I would feel even the people that they're helping with the charity would be like, are you taking care of the other people in your company that are helping us?
Like what?
Like, I think people like for me, right? Like if I don't know, if some ridiculous thing happened, like my arm got blown off and some charity was helping, one-armed people, I would be like, okay, I have one arm, sucks ass. Thank you so much for doing all these things you're doing. You gave me a bionic arm or whatever. But whoever did this for me, I want to make sure that they're taken care of, because they are the ones that came out here to do these things and help the people.
It's exactly.
So please, like, if you have an abundance, yes, you can help more people. But if you're just paying your own executives or something more, forget about that. I want the people on the ground. I want the people that are supporting the people on the ground. They need to get their fair share. And I think if a nonprofit is posting their budget or whatever, that they have all this money, and if it's not all going out to their charitable stuff, then send some of it back to these folks. Like, they should be getting bonuses, maybe not just at Christmas, like I don't know, quarterly bonuses. There are companies that actually do quarterly bonuses and stuff like that.
Yeah, I've heard of that.
They should never be asking for more money
I don't know.
from their own employees. That's so gross. And actually, that's funny to me. I have worked retail before. Have you worked retail before?
Yes, I have.
Do you ever get that feeling that when you work retail and then you go off shift or even on shift and buy stuff from the retailer? Like, to me, I always felt weird about that, because it's just like, I'm just giving you the money that you gave me. I never
I can see that.
I never really liked to do it. I would still do it. And you do get employee discounts in a lot of cases, so there is that. And the fact that, even in my head, I'm thinking about this, the fact that Walmart, which is like Satan of companies, gives their employees an employee discount, and this non-profit is asking for money from their employees, should be a ridiculous red flag.
I just don't get it.
This kind of stuff is so bonkers to me. And we've actually talked about this before. I wish, and we do have a bunch on our list, but I wish more often that these work job related "Am I the Asshole" posts pop up, because I feel like a lot of them are about like families and relationships and people, like nothing to do with like companies or employers to people.
Okay.
And these can get a different kind of spicy, and the reaction can be directed rather than not really knowing. I'd be interested to see if if there was anything to indicate which nonprofit this was. And I also wager that there are many nonprofits who do the same thing. And nonprofits, if you're here and you're watching or listening, can you just take a moment to reflect? You need to pay these folks to do the things that you want to do to help people. You don't need to ask anything more of them.
Sorry, I'm going through OP's replies.
Okay.
And it's funny because I actually scrolled down for a hot minute and was like, okay, everyone's saying not the asshole. There's actually one saying he's the asshole.
Okay, hold on.
And it has a -1 point.
Oh, you got down deep. Okay.
You're the asshole if you don't donate at least $1 USD. You signed up for the nonprofit culture, and the ask is 12 USDs per year for metrics. If you didn't know about it ahead of time, that's on you, or whoever sold you on the position for not understanding what you were getting into. And then OP is like, I've worked in nonprofits for nearly a decade and have never received an email like this. So no, it really isn't standard at every nonprofit. Not challenging your stance of if I'm the asshole, but I understand what I'm getting into working at one.
Holy shit. We found the corporate shill. That's crazy. I'm literally doing it too. I'm like scrolling all the way down.
If you're scrolling down, everyone's like, not the asshole, not the asshole, not the asshole. Scam, not the asshole, not the asshole. Donate a penny, not the asshole, not the, you know, just summarizing. And then you have this one person that's just like, you're the asshole. And I was like, whoa, wait a second.
That is, I have heard a lot of people say that kind of thing about these situations, where it's, oh man, this actually broaches into like
if it is a
ridiculous.
Dollar, that is OP's dollar. Like they can do whatever the fuck they want with, okay?
But the comment of, and this should trigger you if you think about it like this.
Oh god.
But you signed up for this.
I hate when people say shit like that. Just because someone signed up for something doesn't mean they're not, you know, valid in feeling a certain type of way. People are allowed to change their minds, you know?
That. But the other situation that I'm sure you've heard as a female content creator.
Oh god, here we go. All right, lay it on me. I'm ready.
You need to expect all of the sexists and misogynists because you knew going into this that they were going to be there and how they feel. You signed up for this.
I hate when people say shit like that. You shut the fuck up. Oh my god. What was it? The other day, I was in someone's stream and it was just like, you know, like lurking, listening in, chatting here and there. And I remember she had started talking about how there's one individual that she had banned from her stream. And what happened is when you're banned, you can't participate in chat anymore.
Yeah, it's totally blocked.
Twitch does this stupid thing where you're still able to watch their streams.
Mm-hmm.
So this dude literally would still watch her streams and in her Twitter DMs just literally replied to all the things she said through Twitter DMs. And now obviously she didn't know this for X amount of how long this was going for. Because a lot of us, not gonna lie, there's a lot of DMs. It's hard to go like read everyone's DMs, let alone like reply to all of them. And so I was so baffled that someone would, but the thing is, it's true. There are people out there that do shit like this. And he would say things like, oh, you're a female streamer. You should just expect to be like sexualized or like to be put on the spot for blah, 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 whatever like nonsense bullshit he was like spewing. And I was just like, okay, just like you're, as a viewer, you're not entitled to anything. And just because we are female streamers doesn't mean you can just like sexualize us as like objects. We're still people at the end of the day. Okay. And what if like another thing is like, what if our content has nothing to do with that? Because like I'm all for like women wanting to do like OnlyFans and all that, like, girl, get your coin. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Mhm.
But like, obviously, on a platform like Twitch, if that is not the content they're throwing out there, and that's what you're trying to justify, like, I think you need to like really take a step back and like realize like you're kind of like crossing the line here. Like, you just really is that? So it's like when they say shit like that, it's just like, so like you're the way I see it is like anytime you're going out, like when you go to the gym and a girl is wearing like, you know, like really fitted gym wear stuff,
Mhm.
are you thinking like, oh my god, she's trying to seduce me, when really, dude, she's just there to go to the gym and work out, right? Like, that's what it sounds like to me. Like anything a female does out in the world is because they're doing it for you, which is not true.
No. Like, there are definitely times when like a person is doing a thing for others, but for the most part, especially when you're wearing clothes, you're doing it either for a utility reason, like the gym, you're wearing those clothes because it's, you know, flexible to work out in, or you like how you look and you're doing it for yourself.
Yeah.
You didn't go to the store and say, oh wow, I love this low cut top because a man will look at my cleavage, this is great. No, just like I don't go to the store and be like, oh yeah, these will show off my booty. Like, no. If I buy clothes, I'll be like, haha, this says a funny thing, I'm gonna put it on me. Like, it's not, or it's like, oh, this will actually make me look like an upstanding person in society, and it makes me feel good about myself because of my choice. Like, guys, you know you feel that, so women also feel that. We're all people.
Yeah,
Like,
but
what
apparently,
the
like, there are some dudes out there. Apparently, this is like not the case, and it just,
No. Yeah.
it's like, maybe you need to talk to somebody, because I just feel like obviously there's just some kind of like, they don't know how to form like healthy relationships with females.
No, there's
whatever
a lot.
reason it is just
Yeah.
so bizarre to me.
Yeah, it's you know, I
Like when they
obviously,
say, "Oh, but you signed up for it." Oh my god, it must be so easy being a female streamer because they just have people flock to you. Blah 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 blah. You don't have to like even. You just have to sit there and look pretty. Like, sorry. Yeah, I kind of like worked really hard for this, but thanks.
yeah. Also, gentlemen, there is no data to indicate that it is easier for women in the content creation space. In fact, the data suggests the opposite. So
Yeah,
shut the
women
fuck
have
up.
to work like 3 times harder.
Yeah, and
Honestly.
a lot of I mean, shit, we even personally know so many female content creators like that are even our friends that,
Yeah.
and including you, that like the struggle, it was so hard trying to find it and then dealing with these assholes the whole time. Oh god.
Mm.
Like,
That's a whole discussion.
that's a whole separate thing, probably not in the scope of this podcast. Maybe one day we'll
Yeah.
make a video about it, but like, holy smokes, the fact that that mindset, that idea falls into other categories too, as we can see. Well,
Yeah.
you signed up to work at this company, so you need to expect to contribute.
No.
Like, there are jobs where you signed up for a thing, so you need to be able to handle the thing. If you're a cop, you signed up for probably seeing some awful shit. You signed up for maybe being shot at. You have to handle that. If you're a fireman, you have to handle being hot, you know, being in a warm place, you know. If you go to the military, you have to handle having to make those hard choices, having to possibly shoot and kill people, being shot at, hiding, following protocol. You signed up for that, yes. But for instance, the military is a good one, because when people sign up for the military and got sent to Vietnam, you can't tell them that they signed up for coming back and being treated so horribly.
It's true.
Like, you can't, it applies to this job, it applies to that job, it applies to being female in the content space. I don't understand that people are like always make all of these disconnects and they're like, no, this situation is different. It's like, no, that is basically always a bad take. Especially when we're dealing with social stuff. Social stuff is not like, if you signed up to be a therapist, you have to handle social stuff with your clients. But that doesn't
Yes.
mean that they get to treat you poorly too. You know?
Exactly.
So I don't know, that all of that stuff just kind of drives me crazy, and that's why I wanted to make sure we talked about this post, because there are I still feel, I think it's less by a lot now, because of the pandemic, because of people realizing like, minimum wage in the United States is still 7.25. But living wage, as calculated by experts, is something like $27 an hour,
Yeah.
and only rising every year. We don't deserve to be treated like this, and there are companies that will treat us better. So why are we going to even try? And then everyone else is like, there might not be any companies, so I'm going to be the company. And a lot of people have become entrepreneurs. I think entrepreneurship is probably one of the most popular methods of income currently. I bet it is. I bet it is.
Yeah, people like to be their own boss.
Yeah. Now,
I respect it.
of course, you can still hate yourself, which might make you might hate your boss then. But but otherwise, you know how you want to be treated. You're going to do that, and if you do well enough that you need employees, that's how you're going to handle it, most likely. And I just think this is a good highlight of that. It's, in the grand scheme of things, what's happening here is probably very minor, but it calls to such a bigger thought and idea process. Don't just take shit from a company because they pay you. We are not in 1865, my friends. You are not owned.
It's true.
And you don't owe anything to anyone. That's the way I like to think about it. So, live your damn life, do what you think is right, and don't let some company tell you how to be, I guess. Any other last words you want to have to say about this whole situation?
No, not really. I just can't believe companies would have the audacity to do this. But again, it's a company.
Yeah, we have to believe it now. That's what sucks.
Yeah.
All right, so not the asshole. That's our final call on this.
Yep, not the asshole.
And I think that'll do it for us for episode 6. So thank you everybody so much. Anybody who's been following along as we've been working through this series, we are having a blast doing this. This has been
having so much fun.
This has been
riled up.
really, really fun. We like to get riled up. It takes us a little bit after recording to calm ourselves down. But it's so worth it. It's so fun. It's so interesting. And I hope it makes all y'all out there think. And if there was a thing that my computer science teacher, when I had it in high school, because we had a couple classes available, there was a thing that he always did, and it worked so well, even on some people who were like annoying or discipline problems. And he would write it on the board, especially if something annoying happened. It's very simple, 3 words. Think, then act. And that has sat, I haven't been in high school for a very long time. That is still sat with me. So please, think, then act. And I think we can wrap it up there. So thank you again for listening. If you want to interact with us, besides leaving a comment, which we really would enjoy, if you could let us know that you're watching on Twitter. You can find me at verygood, VARYGOODE. And Helen?
You can find me at _doomsdaygal, GAL.
All right. Be good to one another. Peace out.
Bye.